My wife got into a fight with my mom and punched her in the face, so I kicked them all out including my wife. Now she's back after ghosting me for a week and clocking me with divorce papers. My wife and I have been together for 8 years, and she just gave birth to our first baby 2 months ago. Up until my wife got pregnant, my mom loved her. I'm not sure what the heck is wrong with my mom or why the switch happened, but after my wife got pregnant, my mom started being very clingy to me and began avoiding my wife at all costs. She told everyone she wasn't excited about the pregnancy, etc. I threatened to go no contact with her when my wife was about 7 months along, and after that, she snapped out of it for the most part and stopped being so ignorant. The comments 100% stopped at least, though she still clung to me. Now, a week ago, my mom, my sister's husband, and my sister's 12-year-old daughter came over for dinner. I prepared the meal, and before my wife could eat anything, our daughter got fussy, so my wife excused herself to go feed the baby and put her down to sleep. I thought I had prepared enough, but apparently not because my niece was still starving. She's 5 feet 5 inches and 190 pounds. I haven't seen her in a year, and she was not that size then, so I didn't exactly portion in an extra 3 helpings for a child. So it's on me. I apologized and told her that I hadn't made any more and offered her cookies as I was putting my wife's portion in the fridge. After that, I just went outside with my sister's husband to chill for a bit and shoot the breeze. Didn't think anything of it. But then I heard yelling from inside. When I walk in, my wife and my mom are screaming at each other. Apparently, my mom, who saw me put my wife's food away, gave my niece my wife's portion of food. As I'm walking inside, I hear my mom say, "Looks like you can afford to skip a meal," and she slaps my wife's stomach. Right as I'm about to step in, my wife wins back and punches my mother square in the face, dropping her. The whole house goes silent except for my mom crying and holding her face. I tell everyone to get the bleep out. Immediately, everyone leaves, and my wife just turns toward the counter. I look at my wife and say, "You too, leave, now." She says, "Really?" She's crying at this point. I say, "Yup." She packs up her and the baby and leaves. I text her that night and say I just need space. I need to decompress and come to terms with what just happened. She doesn't respond. The next 5 days, I'm texting and calling, and I get nothing. She shows up here today, so 8 days later, and hands me divorce paperwork and my baby, saying, "Here, you have a bit to hang out with her while I pack. We can work out a visitation schedule that is either at your place or my mother's until she can take a bottle." I told her that's not what I want. I don't want to separate. I just needed time to process her punching my mother in the face. She said, "You needing time to process gave me time to process the fact that I refused to be in this situation any longer." I defended myself. I initially felt bad and remorseful, but you making me leave when I needed you made me see more clearly. I'm done. I'm sorry for what I did, but there's no fixing this. She refused to speak to me at all the rest of the time that she was here. My house feels so empty, and I don't know what to do. Edit. The reason why. My dad was stupid abusive. I was beaten, and my sisters and brother were beaten, and my mom was put in the hospital multiple times. It took years for police to enforce restraining orders, and he finally passed in 2013. Violence scares the bleep out of me, and I clam up and get anxious around violence of any kind now. My wife knows this, and she too grew up with a violent stepdad, and she gets just as anxious and panicky around violence. Her punching my mom in the face triggered an anxious response, and I needed her gone in that moment. I needed to be far away from it. And for the record, I am team wife. My mom deserved it, wholeheartedly, and I've completely blocked her from my life. After it all happened, my mom sent me a text saying, "See, I told you she was crazy. That fat bleep doesn't belong in our life." I'm willing to bet she purposely tried setting my wife off. So no, I'm on my wife's side 100%. I truly just needed to process what happened, and my wife took it as me giving up on her, not defending her and throwing her and our baby out, which essentially did happen because I knew she had to take the baby with her when I kicked her out. I'm the jerk, and I'm going to try and kiss up to her now.
I'm still grieving the loss of my marriage, but my friend notified me about my husband's post that had too many specific details that were hard to ignore. I read my soon-to-be ex-husband's post and wanted to give my side of the story and include details that he didn't provide in his post. For those who haven't read it, long story short, my husband kicked me out of the house after his mother physically slapped my stomach in front of him, and I punched her in self-defense. I love my husband dearly, but his lack of action regarding his mother's behavior was extremely disgusting, to say the least. I tolerated his mom's behavior long enough, but I couldn't take it anymore as he had overlooked his mom's behavior repeatedly, and finally, I had enough. I was still recovering after giving birth to his child when his mom slapped my stomach, and my husband exaggerated when he said it wasn't a hard slap. The slap itself was hard enough to be heard by everyone in the room. I had lost it at this point when his mother slapped my stomach with a crap-eating smirk that wasn't visible from my husband's point of view. At least that's what my husband claimed. I had a mental breakdown when my husband told me to leave after kicking everyone out of the house. You should have seen his face when he told me to get out with a straight face and without hesitation. Our baby was crying at this point before I left, and I couldn't do anything but cry that night after I went to stay with my mother. His mother sent me a text mockingly saying, "I'm going to file charges against you for assault, you fat little bleep. Now stay the bleep out of our lives." She ended the text with a smiley face. I was livid and decided I did not want to be associated with this family anymore. I served my husband divorce papers, and as you can guess, he didn't take it well and tried to get me to reconsider. I told him that he overlooked his mother's behavior one too many times, and I was done with him and his inability to establish boundaries with his mother. I recommended setting boundaries, but he didn't think it was necessary even after I told him throughout the pregnancy about the nasty names his mother called me when he wasn't around. He always brushed it off, even though he did tell his mom to stop. She would continue this behavior after a short pause for a while. Before I left after handing him divorce papers, he begged me for another chance and told me he had cut contact with his mother permanently. I told him that he's sorry now that I handed him divorce papers and that he was too late to act now that I had decided I wanted out of the marriage. I told him I loved him so much that he should look at it as a sign that if I didn't, then I would have divorced him long ago because he didn't stand up for me multiple times, and I let his mother's snarky comments and behavior slide at my mental expense. I told him he needed help with the trauma because I understand that he is dealing with trauma since he already mentioned my abusive stepdad, but he didn't even realize that his mother hadn't gotten him help for his trauma, that he is still being affected in his adulthood. What I can't understand is why he didn't leave if he needed some space instead of being heartless and kicking our child out with me. I've been ignoring his texts and calls ever since, and I'm waiting for a divorce hearing. Something that I wanted to point out is that his mother had contributed to his niece's weight gain, since she lives with my husband's sister to save money. I, once again, told my husband about his niece's weight gain. It's concerning that she weighs 190 pounds at such a young age, and she was indeed not that weight before. On the day of the incident, I was making the niece's second portion of food, and then my husband's mother came towards me and snatched the plate out of my hands, saying, "I'll do it myself. Let me take care of it." And when I tried to take the plate back, his mother said, "I know what to do. You don't know how to properly feed someone as healthy as my grandchild." I was shocked that she thinks her grandchild's weight was normal for her age. I couldn't take this harassment or abuse any longer, and my breaking point was reached when he kicked me and our child out of the house. Now I need to do what's right for our child because she doesn't need to be in a toxic household where she has to witness the drama going on. My soon-to-be ex-husband wants us to do marriage counseling, to which I have refused because I am done with him.